Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. My name is Adam Derrick from Jamf. I got my buddy over here, Tal, and we're going to be talking a little bit about defending against nation-state level threats on mobile devices. Ooh, interesting topic. So, without further ado.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Defending Against Nation-State Level Threats on Mobile Devices. My name is Tal Sela. I'm Jamf Executive Threat Protection Product Manager, and I'm very excited to be here today. Without further ado, let's dive in. On March 2nd, 2017, Cecilio Pinedo Berta was found dead in his apartment only hours after reporting an alleged corruption in Mexico. Suspiciously, his mobile device wasn't on the crime scene, and that's according to The Guardian. It was 4 years later, in 2021, that his phone number was found among a leaked list of 50,000 phone numbers that were potentially targeted by NSO Pegasus. You might have heard the name. This finding was part of a collaborative investigation called the Pegasus Project that was conducted by a consortium of media and organizations, including Amnesty International and Forbidden Stories. Except for Mr. Brito's phone number, that list contained numbers of human rights activists, journalists, business executives, Arab royal family members, cabinet ministers, diplomats, military and security officers, heads of states, and prime ministers. 50,000 phone numbers. Even Jeff Bezos' device was infected with NSO Pegasus, and it's funny, but according to a Wikipedia page on the attack, the only reason Jeff Bezos even investigated his device is because there was information leaked on the affair he was having. Otherwise, he just wouldn't do it. All right, so how did Apple react to this? Well, first, they sued NSO for $10 million. Later on, they invest $10 million, plus whatever they got in the lawsuit, in civil society organizations that conduct mercenary spyware threat research and advocacy. Later on iOS 15, they made tremendous security improvements, including patching 22 vulnerabilities, which is a lot. And on iOS 16, they introduced lockdown mode, which provides another protection layer. And that's put Apple in a relatively good position compared to some of its competitors. Now, I know NSO are quite famous, and we just talked about NSO so far, but NSO is definitely not alone. That's a list I found online of offensive cyber companies. Not all of them are doing mobile, of course. And that list contains 166 companies, which is a lot. Now, I was trying to look for the market size, but I couldn't find it. Luckily, we can estimate it here together. So I do know that on 2020, NSO revenue was $243 million. There are 166 companies in there. So I think it's safe to assume that the market size is at least 10 times more, right? So that's $2 billion. And well, because there are 166 companies in there, it also may be 100 times more. Right? So that's $20 billion. So an estimated market size of between $2 and $20 billion, that's a lot. That is a well-funded industry. And we got to understand not all the malwares were born the same, right? We are talking about nation-state level threats in here, or advanced persistent threats, APTs. I'll use this term from now on because it's easier. Or governor, right? So what can an APT do? I'm going to show you a video that the guys from Jamf Threat Labs made. So watch how mobile attackers can access your camera and microphone even while simulating a fake shutdown. So you can see the target has already been attacked. It's recording. There is no visual indicator suggesting that the camera is working. You can see almost no latency in there. And the phone looks normal. Now the target is trying to turn off his phone to get rid of non-persistent malware. Some malware doesn't survive the reboot. But as you can see, the phone looks like it turned off, but it's actually recording and transmitting. Yeah, and it goes on in turning it back on, and well, everything is still working. The malware survives. Now, what does it take to launch such an attack, an APT? So it's all starts with a 0-day. A 0-day is a vulnerability the manufacturer doesn't know about. And that's why, by definition, it's impossible to prevent exploitation of it. Now, we need some 0 days, and the next stage is exploitation. Exploitation is the method of taking advantage of a vulnerability, typically for malicious acts, such as installing a malware. Now, other things needed, of course, but those things are the basic of what we call a zero-click attack. And a zero-click attack, as the name suggests, involves no action from the user, unlike a phishing attack that needs at least 1 click or 2 clicks. And that's how the attacker can stay hidden on the device. Now, I don't know if you can see the ninja image in here, but that's kind of conveying my message. So it's good. All right. So what is the origin of nation-state level attacks? As the name suggests, it's all start in the cyber warfare. So that's the 2020 National Cyber Power Index. And you can see the top 4 countries are United States, China, United Kingdom, Russia, and the list goes on. Now, I take you back to the video, right? If that's what we could do, we can just imagine what NSO can do. We can just imagine what Israel can do. And we can just imagine what those countries, United States, China, United Kingdom, Russia, can do. All right, so what does it have to do with the private market? So on 2022, the accumulated price of all cyber attacks on all devices, and again, all attacks, DDoS, ransomware, everything, was $2.8 billion US. The average price, the average cost for a company that was attacked is $4.35 million US, which is really inconvenient, right? And the name of this session is defending against nation-state level attacks on mobile devices. So we gotta ask, should we even be worried about mobile security? And I think we should, because the modern workforce is mobile. Whether it's a company-owned device or BYOD, we are all using mobile devices for work, right? It may be Slack, or reading emails, or accessing sensitive documents, or having phone calls that may be related to work or our private life. We all have private information on the device. It may be bank account information, or messages, or photos of the kids, and that information can be leveraged to get sensitive data from the organization. And there's also 2FA. If I'm accessing the organization network from a device, and I'm identifying using my device, so it's not 2FA, it's 1FA, and that can be easily breached. And because of those reasons, I believe that mobile is the weakest link. Now, what does it take to launch an APT? So NSO got 750 employees all focusing on attack, which is scary, but I'm not trying to scare you. I want to give you more information about it. So first, NSO customers, according to public information, are government. And those kind of attacks are very targeted attacks. So I don't think NSO will be after the private sector, right? That being said, I remind you there's a lot of countries doing those kind of things, and there's a lot of companies in there, and other companies may. Also, 750 employees focusing on attack, that's something that's really hard to protect against. And that's why most cybersecurity companies don't go down this road. But lucky for our customers, we do, and we're here to help. And that brings us to, how can I protect my organization? And well, all the usual stuff. Like make sure you follow compliance, make sure all the devices are upgraded to the last operating system, et cetera, et cetera. You might know this stuff. And there are also those more specific solutions. So as I said before, we have lockdown mode, which provides another protection layer. If someone feels targeted, they should use lockdown mode, it's good. Also, MTD. MTD stands for Mobile Threat Defense. And MTD does not protect against advanced attacks such as NSO, but it does protect against the majority of attacks, like phishing, right? So MTD is a good solution. Even if you have the best solution against advanced attacks and you don't have MTD, you might be caught with phishing, and then what? Manual forensics. So that's actually how NSO Pegasus was found on Jeff Bezos' device. And until a few years ago, that was the best and only solution against advanced attacks. But it got some very clear disadvantages. So the first one, it's slow. Manual research takes a few weeks to a few months of manual research. Then it's expensive. Those weeks of manual research cost a lot of money. Another disadvantage is privacy, PII. So the researcher has to go through all your photos, videos, messages, etc. According to the Wikipedia page on the attack, Jeff Bezos' device was infected after receiving a video via WhatsApp. Two other disadvantages. So some malware deletes itself at the moment the mobile device is connected via cable. And last disadvantage is that, well, let's say someone went through this process, right? So he sent his device to be investigated. It took a few weeks. It cost some money, and he's OK with the privacy issue. And lucky for him, the device was found clean. If a minute later, or an hour later, or a month later, he was attacked, he has no way of knowing it. He has to go through the process again. So how does manual forensics work? Exactly like criminals in the real world may leave evidence, such as fingerprints, exactly the same, cyber criminals may leave digital evidence. And those are the things we look for in manual forensics. So just to summarize this part before we're going to the more advanced solutions, we got MTD, which is fast, but doesn't provide deep system visibility. And we got manual forensic, which does provide deep system visibility, but it's expensive, slow, and not privacy-friendly. Now, after the Pegasus project, there are two more advanced solutions that came. And the first one is MVT. If you want to take manual forensics one step further, I recommend MVT. It's an open source tool, and it does provide deep system visibility like manual forensics, but it got some disadvantages. So the first, you got to be technical to run it. So it doesn't really fit executives traveling abroad. Then it covers only some APTs. Those guys are very NSO Pegasus. It was made by Amnesty International Security Labs, the guys from Pegasus project. So they are very NSO focused, and I'm not sure NSO is what we are trying to protect against. Then it includes PII. So if there is some executives that doesn't want to share with the IT admin all this information, then it just wouldn't work. And it demands connected to a computer, so the malware can delete itself. And last, let's say you ran APT and you find the NSO. Now what? What do you do? Like, nobody would know what to do, and that's a big disadvantage. And that brings us to the last solution, Jamf Executive Threat Protection, which is the product I'm responsible for, and of course, I'm biased here. But exactly 1 year ago, we joined forces with Jamf, and as DevOps, we had really good reputation with governmental organizations. Since the acquisition, we have been trying to create the best solution for Jamf customers. So how does MVT stand against Jamf Executive Threat Protection? So we got MVT, which provides manual forensic level analysis, but you got to be technical. It's unscalable, so it's one device at a time. It's got only partial coverage of APTs. Again, they are very NSO Pegasus, and includes PII. And we got Jamf Executive Threat Protection, which provides deep analysis. It's end-user friendly. I'll show you our app in a second. It's scalable, so you can have a picture of all the environment in one dashboard. It detects a wide range of APTs, because again, we are not just NSO focused. We are trying to look wider. And it's privacy friendly. We are not looking through photos and videos and messages. We are looking through logs and crashes and operating system level data. One of the big advantages that we have is the mobile app, which, as you can see, is very privacy friendly, and it's constantly scanning the background. So unlike manual forensics or MVT, where the scan is every week, month, or something like this, the app constantly scanning the background multiple times a day. Another big advantage that we have are the guys from Jamf Threat Labs. Those guys are really smart. Those are the guys who made the video you saw before. And just a few weeks ago, they found a tampering method in the airplane mode. So it looks like you're on airplane mode, but you're actually not. The malware can keep transmitting. And those guys are here to help. Another big advantage is our remote response abilities. So we can remotely uninstall an app, remove a profile, rebooting the device, and so on. So we are more effective in fighting those kind of malwares. Now, it's currently available just on iOS. We are working to add it also in Android. And in the future, we want to automate it. So we'll find the threat, immediately respond to it, and in this way, we'll be more proactive in defending you. Now, two last slides. The first one, I want to show you how MTD, Mobile Threat Defense, and Advanced Detection and Response go together. So we have MTD on the surface, dealing with the majority of attack, like mobile phishing. And we have Advanced Detection and Response underneath the surface, taking care of operating system level attacks, which are more advanced. Now, I know it looks like this, but to me, it always feels like this. Thank you very much, guys. My email is here, my LinkedIn here. You can ask me questions afterwards, and also now we'll take some questions. Thank you very much.
Wonderful session.
Thank you.
Cool. One question that came in, aren't iOS apps sandboxed? How are you able to get system logs and kernel info?
That's what's special about our technology. If it was easy, everybody would have done it. Yeah.
Figured so. That's the only ones that came in online or through the app. Are there any remaining questions in the room? I could walk over if anybody wants to go ahead and raise their hand.
You named some countries in addition to the ones that were in the list. What are the? You named some countries that were in addition to the ones that were already in the list that you projected for us in the table that have cybersecurity strength or intrusion capacity. Well, which one are some of the leading countries that were not in that list?
That's a good question. So that list is based on public information. As you can understand, someone who is good with cyber or intelligence wouldn't just voluntarily give information, right? So that list is not very accurate, but it's good enough. Israel wasn't on this list. And again, it's hard to compare, you know.
I heard you call them out, so that's why.
Yeah, like the top 4 countries were USA, China, United Kingdom, and Russia. That's pretty close, I think.
Right. Well, we know North Korea, we know has also.
I'm not sure how good they are, but again, it's hard to say. Yeah. And it's problematic to answer this question.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, cool.
We got another one that came in. A couple people voted on this one. How does your solution affect battery life on the iOS devices?
Almost doesn't affect. It's very, very light.
I was just going to ask, do they have to manually kick off the scan, or is it like the user has to click off the scan, or is it automated?
Yeah, so there's 2 options. You can press the button and the scan goes on, or we can install the widget and then the scan goes automatically in the background.
So the question that was asked for anybody online was, is there any kind of interaction for kicking off the scans? So thank you.
Yeah.
Got one in the back here, one moment.
Thanks. So to add on to that, is that widget or whatever is on the iOS, can it be hidden? My clients are farmers, so I don't necessarily want to have them see that on the iPad, or on the iPad. Is that an option?
So you're asking if there's a way to hide the widget?
On the iPad itself.
Yeah, so on iPhone, there's 2 options for widget. One of them is less clear, almost you don't see it. In iPad, we don't have that at the moment. Yeah, but we will work in the future to improve it.
Max wants to know, what's the most common entry point for those sorts of malware or zero-day attacks?
So it's messaging apps, such as WhatsApp or iMessage. Well, historically. Maybe in the future it will be different. Yeah.
Janine wants to know, does it work in all countries while the executives are traveling? For instance, if a device is out of the hands of the traveler.
Yeah, it does. We recently checked it in China, which it's kind of problematic, and it worked. So.
Cool. In your own words, how does this stack up to Microsoft Defender?
It's not the same product. Microsoft Defender is an MTD, and we are doing advanced detection and response. So I take you back to this circle thing. Like,
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
those are the Chinese. Yeah. Yeah, we can work together. And again, I'm biased, but obviously I recommend Jamf Protect for mobile. And we're going to
really old programming languages that are susceptible to like integer overflows and buffer overflows constantly. And I wonder, because like Pegasus, for instance, operates on the image IO framework, which is this really old like C-based thing that allows for buffer overflows in the first place. So I'm curious, like, do you have any influence over pushing them to like modernize their code base in a lot of these old like legacy frameworks?
That's an interesting question. Like, we don't do this at the moment, but I'll forward it to the guys from Jamf Threat Labs, and it's interesting to see what they will say. Thank you.
Great question. Anyone else?
So how does it work with other VPNs, such as, say, if you're not using Jamf Trust, how would it work, say, with like Cloudflare tunneling VPN and things like that? Would that still risk run in the background or to be able to detect anything coming across?
Yeah, I couldn't hear everything.
How would it work using, like, say, a different VPN like Cloudflare instead of Jamf Trust? How would that work working simultaneously?
So currently, we are not working through Jamf Trust. We have our own VPN, and it works just fine. In the future, we may integrate with Jamf Trust, and we have to think about this question again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, right here in the front. What do you got, Jason?
So probably a dumb question. Can you use Jamf Trust and Jamf Executive Threat Protection together, or would you use it in lieu of?
Yeah.
Since they're both, usually with VPN, you can only connect to one at a time. If you're doing VPN tunneling and that's doing a VPN, how does it work together?
Yeah, it's not the same kind of VPN. So they work together, and we'll work to make it work together even better.
Thank you. What do you got, Max?
Is user interaction required when you push that app to a device? So like say I have an executive who's traveling, right? Do I have to have him open the app at least once before it is functioning and starting those scans in the background, or can I remotely push that application to their device?
Yeah, so it needs user interaction in the first time for the activation. We are working to improve in it, so it will be, they will just see a message in their app, like you need to connect your device to a computer to activate advanced security, do some permissions, and that's it. From there on, they are set.
And then for the mobile app itself, does it have to be running in the background for those scans to occur that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so the thing, like the widget kind of waking up the app every once and then. It's not constantly running in the background.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
You can define how much, like you can define the time between scans. So the default is every 30 minutes, but if you want, you can do it every 6 hours, once a day, up to you.
All good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.